I'm in for long-term, extremely strong relationships with our clients. And I have found that if when I push things to go super, super fast, then we're trying just to sell and sell. And when you're just trying to sell, you're not giving the quality of the work. And I've been fortunate to focus on the quality of the work.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm Kevin, and today we are joined by Yakov Klein. He is the co-founder of Cashman Klein, has been a coach/consultant for over 13 years. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Happy to be here.
Yeah, the first thing that sticks out to me is 13 years is a pretty long time, and you were also showing me your website before the podcast started, and you have quite an extensive list. I'm very curious about the origin story, the lore, and so I'm kind of curious, how did you get into this industry, and more importantly, turn it into a business?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So 13 years, I didn't always run my own company. I have a background in training in something called industrial organizational psychology, got my master's from Baruch in New York City, and started initially in healthcare, worked for Bellevue Hospital in Manhattan, and then ultimately moved to Mount Sinai Health System in New York City. And I ended up as the assistant director of that team, doing talent development, doing executive coaching, leadership training, things of that nature. Along the way, started back in graduate school, met my will ultimately be my business partner, Daniel Cashman. We became friends in school and then reconnected years later and started our company together. And so that was like the big lure. We started out just as friends, wanted to have fun together, have a good time, and said, why not do work together? That sounded like a lot of fun at the time. And thankfully, it's turned into something cool.
Yeah. What was that like? What was that conversation like when you guys wanted to start something together? I'm so curious.
Yeah, it was very organic. Something had come my way that totally organically, and which is also to say, during the first number of years of the company, we never, and still now hardly ever, advertise. Almost 100% of our client list, if you look at the website, almost 100% of that is referrals. No advertisement, just people talking about our good work. But it was just a project came our way, and he was someone who I was friends with. And at the time, he had actually brought me over to work at Bellevue. He was a year ahead of me in graduate school. And so I was working there because of him. And I turned to him and said, hey, do you want to do this project with me? And that's how it was born.
That's amazing. Yeah, I can see how these companies talk to each other because majority of them are actually in healthcare. It's kind of interesting.
A bunch of them are healthcare, acute care. So I started out large hospital systems. Sinai, where I ended up spending the majority of my time, they have over 40,000 employees. And we're talking about, I don't have to go through the stats of Mount Sinai. It's a big place and they're well known, and very fortunate to be able to work there, working with physicians, working with clinical leaders, working with nurses, people whose mission is to take care of others, and us coming in to help them take care of others was very meaningful as well.
Yeah, I'm actually quite surprised because you'll never guess this, by the way, but I used to be a drug dealer. I used to be a pharmacist. And so I actually recognize a lot of these companies and stuff from my prior days. So yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, kind of curious. So it sounds like because of your previous profession, you kind of helped out a lot of healthcare companies. But I guess do you notice like a theme of the type of people or organizations that you typically help out?
It's interesting. It's sort of like the people that come to the doctor are the ones that they realize they need help. And so usually when you're getting called into an organization, especially the way that I've done a lot of the sort of business development, which is mostly just word of mouth, one business owner talking to another business owner, or one part of a large organization talking to another part of a large of the same organization. It's people who are growth minded. It's individuals who realize that they're smart and they've gotten this far, but let's explore if there are other ways or other avenues. And people who also sort of inherently understand that they're going to rock the boat a little bit in bringing somebody in, but in order to have innovation, creativity, and growth, you need to switch things up a little bit sometimes. And so that is definitely thematic in all the different sort of companies and individuals that bring us in.
Interesting. And earlier you said it's pretty much all majority of your business is all referrals. Have you ever tried any sort of like experimented with any other marketing channels in the past? And I'm curious how those went for you.
We haven't really, Dan's my partner, hasn't really, we've done maybe like a tiny bit at this point of like LinkedIn advertisements for certain things that we're doing. So if we're running a leadership training or a process improvement certification class or something like that, we'll try to promote it on LinkedIn, but that's really the majority. We've never done any of the traditional marketing at all. Usually it's business development of very warm quality leads, working with current clients and saying, hey, you know me, I know you, you trust me. Is there one company that you think would be a good fit for me? And can you make that connection? And whether or not it happens, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. That's a route that I found that is helpful.
Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting too. And these, yeah. And I think one of the things that I would love to hear too is like, well, one of the things I love hearing about like on this podcast are the different business models that are working for coaches and consultants at different stages.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of curious about the different offerings that you have, like the different types of coaching and all that. I think prior to the call, you're talking about organizational trainings and all that. I would love
Yeah.
to kind of hear your whole suite.
Sure. So we have about I'd say five big buckets that things fall into. We have our sort of classic and traditional executive coaching, which can be teased out between sort of the coaching of a high potential or remedial coaching. So we're being brought in by, let's say, someone in the company that is discovering a challenge with one of their high level leaders and say, hey, this guy's great or this girl is fantastic. And it would be amazing if they could just sort of work on these particular opportunities that will take them to the next level. That's sort of one of the things that we'll typically be brought in for. The consulting often comes off of that. And so as we're getting to know these leaders and getting to know the owners of the companies, as projects come up, even if we're not engaged for the entire project, but hey, I'd love your eyes on this particular thing. How do you see it? What are the variables you want to consider, et cetera? We also offer leadership skill training. So we'll do full day or 2-day workshops. We will go ahead and usually pick we have about 45 different topics of a curriculum that you could pick from, mix and match a couple of the ones that are high priority for you and make 2 full days out of it or 1 full day out of it. We'll often encourage companies to also, make sure that they're taking advantage of bringing their teams together. So if you have 25, 30 leaders that mid-level directors or director level, you want them to have training on fundamentals of leadership communication, how to set clear expectations, how to make sure that there's accountability and performance feedback, how to make sure that they're navigating conflict when it comes up in the workplace. All those things, I'm very pragmatic and practical. Obviously, there's theory behind all this. I don't make things up. So everything's out of a book or an article or a research paper, but it has to be very practical. So a lot of in-class role play, practicing, making sure that we get case studies from the company beforehand so that we could have them actually work on real scenarios that relate to their work. Additionally, we'll do process improvement. So process improvement has been generally split up into 2 different sort of big chunks. You have Lean and Six Sigma. Lean, which comes out of Toyota, Six Sigma, which comes out of Motorola. Dan, in particular, is a Lean Six Sigma expert. He's whatever belt they have, up to platinum belt. He worked for the University of Maryland's health system for many years doing process improvement over there. And so we'll come in and either we'll take one of your processes and we'll break it down in the Lean Six Sigma way and understand where there's value, understand where it needs to be improved, or we also offer certification courses. We can certify your team in Lean or Six Sigma, and they'll be certified so that they can apply these skills in the organization. The last couple of things is that we'll do sort of team retreats. I've done a number of destination retreats for organizations. So take a team this past summer in July, took a team to Nashville, Tennessee for 3 days. Let's do some learning and some fun. 30% learning. Let's learn about some leadership skills, and then 70%, let's have a good time, have the team coalesce, have them talk through some of their challenges, and then just, have a good time. Let's go out for drinks. Let's go on a boat ride, things like that. We've been to Miami a bunch of times, Cleveland, New York, obviously, we'll do retreats over here as well. So that's like the big chunks of what we offer.
Ooh, that sounds really exciting. So kind of like event planning and stuff.
Yeah, I actually have a couple of people on my team who also have organizational psychology degrees, but happen to be extremely skilled at event planning. And so, they're fantastic in terms of doing research on the venue or the activities or the food locations and putting them all together and combining them thematically with the leadership offerings that we take. So if it's wine tasting and pairing it with food, we'll talk about leadership communication, active listening, trying to taste that, what's behind sort of the surface, pairing it up with your communication style with your direct report. So it's sort of the combination of having the activity briefly speak to the skill and to sort of bring that out in conversation and experience.
Speaking about teams too, it seems like you have a team of your own and all that. I'm kind of curious about like the hires that you've made in your organization.
Yeah. I mean, we're looking always for people who are, I guess, smart is number one. It's not like we're giving them IQ tests, so that's not how it's being measured, but people who are intelligent, creative, certainly autonomous. So the people that we've hired not only have to sort of know the craft very well. Rarely have we taken on people who are like fresh out of school. That's just generally not how it is. I need to be able to trust them completely. And so we have people who have a number of years of experience. The autonomy is very helpful. And I love creative out of the box thinking. So you could take any sort of typical organizational challenge and approach it in the more traditional way, which might lend itself from a research standpoint. At the same time, you'll also want to look at it from a different perspective because it's more than likely that someone in the organization has already looked at it from that lens, and you want to try it from a different lens at least once. And so that's something that we value as well.
Really interesting. How many people do you have on your team currently right now?
We have about 5 employees total, additional from me and Dan.
And one of the questions in my head is like, as I'm going through, like, as I'm scroll, I literally have to scroll through all your clients, your previous
Yeah.
clients. How do you manage your client capacity, I guess? Like, yeah.
So it's managed through working with our team, obviously. Not all projects are created equal. Some of those clients are there because we have a couple of leaders in that organization that we are coaching. Some of it is that we're running a leadership training for them once a month. So it's one day a month. I'm doing a leadership training. We'll do a series. So if you're really smart about how you delegate all of the work, as well as how you schedule all the work, again, we're certified in process improvement and understanding efficiency. So we apply all those theories to our work as well. Yeah, I'd say from the client list, I don't know how many clients are there. I'd say if there are 30 clients there, I'd say 23 to 25 are active clients. They're happening right now, not just past clients. A couple of them, like we had let's say a year engagement with, and then it very mutually ended in a great way. And sometimes they'll call us back. But in terms of people that we're talking to on a weekly basis, I'd say the vast majority of people that you'll see there are active.
Something interesting too, like if you're open to it, I love to talk about pricing strategies because I think this is where a lot of coaches and consultants struggle the most. Of course, you don't need to give any hard numbers, but how do you structure your pricing? Is it like,
Sure. Yeah, I'll talk about it.
I hear some people talk about hourly, project-based, value-based, retainers, subscriptions. I
So
would
we
love
do,
to hear.
yeah, we do a combination of all those things, and we usually present all those things. So it depends what the employee is looking for. What I have found is if I go with the intention of giving the best value for the dollar amount, and that's something that I'll tell them, meaning I'll tell them, hey, you could pay me for the project, but you'll probably overpay me. So let's go by an hourly with a limit, and therefore you'll be able to manage the budget, we'll be able to manage the project, and I'm telling you, it'll probably be cheaper for you. I'll have people even call me up and say, I need you for these things. And I'll say, you're not ready for me yet. You'll waste your money on me. So what I have found is that when I'm very truthful and very, very honest, and essentially what we try to do is very not greedy with the approach that we take, that gets a very strong response. So let's go with, for example, hourly. Pure executive coaching standpoint, we'll charge an hourly rate. I might drop the rate a little bit if they're going to bundle for, let's say, 3 months for 2 times a month or 4 times a month for a 3 month bundle. Let me drop it a little bit more. Obviously, again, that could expand and it could be negotiated too. There is at a point, there is a dollar amount at some point where this is the bottom now. We'll do some sort of retainer, or it's more of I would say, a subscription. So I have a number of clients who, let's say they want real-time access to me. So, hey, I'm working through something. Some clients want a relationship where I'm going to coach them. We're going to meet weekly, let's say. They take those skills and then they apply them. Some clients want a little more hand holding. Let's say I have an owner of a company that didn't realize that he has to send out an email to the entire team that could be sensitive, and they want to, from a consultant standpoint, just touch base and read through that before they send it out. That requires real time in the moment type of response and not just, at our weekly session. So I have an actual fee that I'll charge on a monthly basis that with this, you have access to me, and usually with like a 2-hour turnaround time on that, depending on, obviously there are exceptions. And then there are certainly project-based things. Here's this large project. It could be a large fee. Let's just take all the things you want to do. We'll come up with the fee, and then we'll just break it up over 12 months. This is what you're going to pay for 12 months. We'll get all of this done in that time. Either party has the right to cancel, with like 30, 60 days notice. That's everything.
Love it. Who taught you this stuff? How did you learn this whole
Nowhere.
process?
Totally made it up on their own. I feel like everyone does that. It's a shame, right? Like everyone sort of just, I feel like what you're doing is really helpful of all the people who don't either have the experience or shouldn't have to learn it on their own to have access to people that have already done it. It's been experimentation. It's been doing it wrong a bunch of times and then learning from that. But, it's exciting. It's a journey.
Since you work with so many different clients, right?
Yes.
What is I'm kind of curious your experience with the whole vendor selection process and stuff like what is that like getting into each organization? Are they very similar? How they choose like you guys and all that?
It depends whether it's enterprise size or not. So when we're talking about an organization that's a billion-dollar organization with hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of employees, they're going to have a very modeled, structured, usually lengthy process to get in. It usually takes months. You'll have to fill out all the forms. You'll have to give them a whole bunch of forms. If it's let's say a health system, they might ask you for certain medical forms. So if you're going to be on site, you have to conform to what their standards are. Insurance, they might ask you to show that you have insurance. They might ask you, I remember there was a company that I haven't had any companies do this now, but that needed to show COVID vaccination. Like you have to show us that you're vaccinated for COVID before that we're going to let you come. So there's a lot of these types of things you have to, show that. Other smaller companies, even companies that are mid-sized, so the between 50 to 150 million dollar type size companies, usually it's less bureaucratic, so less red tape, and it's more of, let's see proposals, let's understand what you can give us, and it's more of a personal negotiation than it is a enterprise red tape negotiation. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thank you for sharing that. And obviously these people are pretty happy with you, like giving you referrals and stuff.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like the key or secret to getting really great referrals is from your end?
Constantly asking for feedback, I think, is important. Being extremely honest and transparent with your clients is very important. And when they show that they can trust you, is usually when they will refer you because they trust that that referral will add value. So obviously adding value, I feel like I'll say that explicitly, even though it sort of goes without saying, but I don't think anyone will refer someone who doesn't add value. But sort of beyond that, you have, do I trust you? Do you have integrity? And what I have found is being extremely open with my clients builds trust and integrity. And what that is different than making sure they like me. And I tease those apart because I think when I was earlier in my career, I was concerned with the people that I was coaching or the companies that I was working with, that they liked me. We always want everyone to like us. And then as I got older and more experienced, I realized, and sorry, just to backtrack, that was holding me back, I think, at times for saying some of the hard truths that were necessary to be said to a client and being very straightforward with them, either about themselves or their company culture or the person that they've brought me in to work with. And doing this more and more and over the years has been an understanding that if I just speak straight, really clearly and say, I'm going to give you what is best for you, and you might not like what you're going to hear, but I'll take that hit for your benefit, that has come out with the best result. And so I think the transparency has helped a lot build that integrity and trust. And I think the integrity and trust carries on to referrals.
Thank you for that. And I want to switch to your future goals actually, because
Sure.
you've been in the game for 13 years. And
Yeah.
so I guess where do you want this consulting, coaching business to take you in the next few years? Do you have any secret dreams, big ambitions,
Yeah.
hiring initiatives? I would love to
Uh,
hear.
For the majority of those years, I was working in-house at corporations, so we weren't really trying to grow. It was very, very reactive. And I was the assistant director of a team at Mount Sinai, or before that at Bellevue, and Dan was again at University of Maryland's health system. And so it was very much, something came up, we would sort of take care of it. Now, over the past, let's say, year and a half or so, we've really went full time entirely, left everything else behind, and we're doing this. It's one of my posts on LinkedIn. So I never posted on LinkedIn. Sorry, this is just like an aside that's related until I left. And when I start, if you look at my post history, it starts the day that I leave my job. And it's like, I've been on LinkedIn for 17 years and I've never said anything before. And now I'm here. And it's something that, I'm fortunate to do. So the dreams are, I think, to continue to add value. I know that sounds, not necessarily metric or measurable, but we have found that I'm not necessarily interested in exploding or blowing up fast. I know that, a lot of the books or the theories around let's 10x and 2x and don't think in 2x and 5x. I'm in for long-term, extremely strong relationships with our clients. And I have found that when I push things to go super, super fast, then we're trying just to sell and sell. And when you're just trying to sell, you're not giving the quality of the work. And I've been fortunate to focus on the quality of the work. So the goals are continue to try to hit those enterprise level companies, continue to grow the relationships in those companies that we already have, continue to show integrity in the work that we do and show the quality and the value in the work that we do. And that's really the goal. And we believe that if we are a nice company that people enjoy working with, that provide value, the company will grow. Obviously, we have to do our part in doing some marketing and business development, but the work really speaks for itself. And fortunately, our history has shown that as well.
So interesting that you mentioned the LinkedIn post. Are you planning to do more social media in this current season of your business?
Yeah, we've done more. We have a Cashman Klein LinkedIn page. Dan has his own, obviously, LinkedIn page, and I have my own LinkedIn page. And we've done certainly more over the past year than we've ever done ever. I've done more, I have to be good about it. It's so not my focus. And it's something that I know, again, the strategies around posting, make sure you post once or twice a week and all that sort of stuff. It's hard for me to post fluff. I like posting real things. And so usually I'll do posts when it's at a company giving a lecture or training, or I just get out of some of the challenges that a lot of the work we do is somewhat confidential and it's hard for me to reference certain things. We hold privacy and confidentiality at almost to number one from a priority standpoint. So I'll discuss things sometimes, but I have difficulty posting fluff pieces on LinkedIn. And so you don't see a lot of that type of stuff, just throwing out a question to the crowd. So, but yes, to answer your question, we do plan on posting more on LinkedIn.
Also, one of the things, I can't remember where I heard the quote from, but something like everybody's fighting a battle that the outside can't see or something like that. I can't remember the original quote.
Might be
And so,
Robin Williams, by the way.
oh, was it?
It might be. He said something like that. But yeah,
Yeah,
it could be
yeah,
that I'm wrong, but just off the top of my
yeah.
head. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious, on your end, what are some challenges and bottlenecks you're noticing in your coaching business right now that most people wouldn't expect, I guess?
Yeah, I think there's the balance. I feel like what I'm going to say is so cliche, but the balance of the working in the business on the business type of approach, I think that's something that is really hard. And when you realize that so much, you have this many billable hours in a day, some of the work that we get can be billed off hours. The majority of the work that we get can be billed somewhere between 8 and 6, let's say, 8 a.m., 6 p.m. Eastern. So, the challenge of making the time and carving out the time to work on the business in that time has been something that we've gotten better at. It's still something that we have to get better at. Sometimes Dan and I will schedule our work meetings at night just so that we could spend the day servicing our clients or giving our trainings or doing the work. And so that we'll take care of the administrative or working on the business type of stuff on off hours. But that's something that I think is a challenge. And again, it's not necessarily a challenge that has to be solved. Simon Sinek has the infinite game and the idea of like there is no end. It's just continuing to work through it and you'll get there. And sort of there are many parts of my life that I apply that to, this being one of them. So challenges are, again, I was just listening to the Amy Edmondson TED Talk about psychological safety, and it's not a problem, it's a puzzle. So it's not a problem, it's not a challenge, it's just a puzzle. We'll have to just figure it out. But that's one of the things that give us a little bit of a challenge. Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that, by the way.
sure.
The other thing I would like to do with you is play a
Yeah,
game if you're open to it.
I'm open. Sure.
One of the things I love asking is about business investments. This game is called First, Last, Best, Worst. So I
Okay.
want to ask you, what was the first business investment you ever made? Whatever comes to mind.
Whatever came to mind was that I bought my laptop.
Your laptop?
My laptop was my first business investment that I ever made. Yeah.
Oh, was it a MacBook or what kind? Do
I'm
you
an
know the
Apple
model?
guy.
Yeah,
I'm an
cool.
Apple guy. We had a couple of, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to if I'm investing into my company or others, but we have a number of stocks that we play with. One of the ones that we got lucky with was Celsius when it was small. And that was something that it was all Dan. It had nothing to do with me, but he recognized it early a bunch of years ago. So yeah,
Yeah, that's a personal investment, but yeah, I love that.
yeah. You don't have to share that if you don't want to. It's fine.
No, it's cool. No, it shows the personality. It's pretty interesting to see your dynamic between the two. Your last business investment that you made in your business.
The last business investment that we made was we paid for a yearly subscription to an online platform that does e-learning. So eventually our goal is to not only offer in-person workshops, but can we offer electronic self-led learning by the learner for enterprise size companies so that the business model being that sort of passive, we'll curate and create the content based on your need, and then this way, the users could take it at their own time and leisure, but it's focusing on your company, so it's branded to your company, and it's the content that your company wants. And so that took a platform, and it took me reaching out to a resource that I have, who is a very, very smart guy who knows how to create, instructional design and learning on the platform, and trying it out with a company. Yeah,
Best investment.
best investment in the company. I think the best investment was deciding to work with a friend of mine and someone who I trusted, someone who got my jokes and who I respected, from sort of a strategic intelligence standpoint. And it's been a great time together. And I think that we trust each other and we get along very well. And the investment and decision to sort of trust and work with one another is probably the best thing that I ever did.
Love that. And the person who helped you pick out that stock earlier too. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, I will say, just as an aside and not unrelated, probably the best investment in my business has also been my wife because she's been so supportive of it and has always been whatever you need, whenever you need. I know that you're doing this for us. Go ahead. And that's been, I think, a big difference. I know not everyone's partners are always like that. And so to have a partner that does that for me has been extremely helpful.
Pulls at the heartstrings right there. I love it. Okay. Worst investment, kind of like an investment that you wish you got your money back from.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes you play around with experimenting a couple of projects. We had a couple of projects that we tried out. I'm not going to get into such specifics because it relates to certain clients,
Of course.
but a couple of projects that you invest like time and energy into and resources, and either the project itself, the company doesn't necessarily go forward with it, or the project itself just as hard as you try, doesn't come into fruition. There is failure that happens for sure. So those are a couple of examples.
Final advice from you. Do you watch like Marvel movies like Endgame or anything like that? Have you ever seen
Yeah,
that movie?
totally.
Yeah. So you know Thanos, he snaps his fingers, half the population
Yeah,
disappears, right?
yeah.
Let's say that happens, but unfortunately it was your followers, your clients, and relational capital that you built over years that
Yeah.
disappears. And
Starting
let's
from
say you had
scratch.
Yeah, you're starting from scratch, but you have all the wisdom that you have right now. What would your first 90 days kind of look like if you were to rebuild this business?
My first 90 days would be asking whoever I can to work for free at the beginning. Again, a lot of people say never give anything for free, et cetera, et cetera. I've heard that line many times. Value will always come through, and the second company is always more willing than the first company in whatever you do. And so if you could just show that I have worked and shown value for company number one, then company number two will always be an easier sell. And you'll make up, the ROI is there in terms of what you could make up for it. And then you compound that. It's so much harder to sell a product that has no client base and no experience than a client that has one. Even if it's a client that's unpaying, still, that's not paying, you'll still show that I've done it. And especially if you've done it and you could get a reference. So I would find, I have my wisdom, I have my expertise. I would try to figure out a story to explain why I have nobody and I have nothing. And I'd say, but I know that I could provide value for you. And I'm so confident that I'll do it for free. And then on exchange that you'll refer me to the next person.
You stole the question out of that I was thinking in my head. I was like, how would you position that to that first client? I love it. Thank you.
So that's it.
Cool. Well, I just want to say I really appreciate your tactical advice. We went into pricing strategies. We went into the first 90 days.
Yeah.
There's just so much that people can take away from this podcast, and I really appreciate it. How can people find you and connect with you?
Sure. So the website is cashmanklein.com. You can find us on LinkedIn at Cashman Klein. I have my own Yakov Klein LinkedIn page. Daniel Cashman has his own. I think we have a Twitter page. Again, Dan handles a lot of that stuff. And it's my first name, Yakov, at cashmanklein.com is my email address.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for coming again, Yaakov. Really appreciate your advice, man. Yeah, it's my pleasure.
All right.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.